There's no actual power run to this. There's really no lighting. I'm running off extension cords from there over to there. So you got to fish out the extension cord, you see, like that. Full Blair Witch, and then you plug it into the doohickey here. That's a really inconvenient thing to do in the dark if your hands are full. So as a result, stuff is just stacking up. That's what happens late at night after a long day when you can't see anything. You just kind of get it to the closest spot and then drop it. This was intended to be just kind of storage for cars, because that's one of the things I really like to work on. It's time to hang some lights and run some power and improve this as a workspace and a storage space and everything else. There's a lot of other steps we're going to take, but honestly, it makes sense to actually put some light in there to take all those other steps. All right, we got the old 47 Mercury workbench here because it's not doing much else but collecting stuff, and we got to fix that too. Got these things. They were on clearance. In fact, I bought them for 20 bucks. Having just done this research, is the same price as just the LED bulbs. I thought, hey, that's a deal. I did recently try some LED bulbs against some regular fluorescents. Lumens to lumens, the same as fluorescents. And frankly, I don't like the quality of fluorescent light, but I think I actually kind of like it better than LED light. I'm an incandescent guy myself, but getting a tungsten fixture or a real incandescent, well, that's just gone the way of the dodo. So first thing I can tell you is these don't weigh a thing, and they feel super cheap. That's exactly what I paid for. So let's go plug her in and see what we get out of it. So right now we are working under the, the 5 work lights that I showed you before. So we'll compare this light to, well, that light. These things I think are 4,000 lumens, and they're supposed to be 4,000 Kelvin, which is cool-ish. All right, here I am. It's a light. I think these are gonna do swimmingly, I think that'll do. Place is a disaster, but I've decided that we're just gonna power through it and get these lights up because that will make undisastering much more doable. I've got a fuse panel right inside this garage. So the plan is just to run a 20 amp circuit up and then over all these rafters and down the other side. And we're gonna run 2 circuits, one for the lights and one for the over yonder tools. Each one of those tools does indeed draw 20 amps, I'm sure, but we'll be using them basically one at a time. I'm gonna go ahead and not hardwire them in because I like the practicality of just being able to swap it out, because the longevity of this thing, it says 50,000 hours. It was 20 bucks. So we're not gonna count on any part of it not failing. All right, so I think the thing to do is just go ahead and jam all these boxes up. I'm not gonna plan all that hard here. My light fixtures are 4 feet long, so I'm roughly gonna go 2 feet off center or a little more, and I'm gonna use the existing Edison cords and I'm gonna plug them into outlets I put in these boxes. Yeah, I guess I'll pull a measurement of like 3 feet off our center line and put all the boxes in, and we'll just keep on trucking. All right, simple plan here. I'm just gonna use these self-tapping, well, not that one. Lost it forever. All right, I'm gonna use these self-tapping screws. The good news is I have 6 million of them left over from assembling this project. The bad news is they're trash. Like 1 out of 3 will actually, self-tap. So I've only got 4 rafters to do, and maybe I can put 4 boxes up before I completely lose my mind. Let's find out. So long as I line the box up everywhere, it'll at least look consistent and somewhat neat. That'll do. So I've chosen to just work around the mess rather than clean it up. Anyway, the system's really simple. I just came up with a number running off my center point, and I'm gonna match that all the way across just so that my conduit all runs in a straight line. Not rocket surgery. Now that the sun has actually gone down, these lights do sort of illuminate the place so you don't kill yourself tripping over anything, but they do create some serious shadows. I think we kind of need more. We need light to bounce around. Now, ideally, I would do all the parts at once. Like I wanted to hang all the boxes and then hang all the conduit and then run all the wire and then hang all the lights and do all the things. And that's a great way to work, but it's not the world I'm living in. It's not like I prepared for this project, cleared everything out of my way and, was gonna do it methodically. I am trying to squeeze this in between the hours of being at home and awake and going to sleep to get up in the morning to go to work. It may not be the most efficient, but at the end of the day, I haven't hit a bottleneck yet, meaning I haven't hit a point where I have to stop working because the car is in the way. In fact, I can run the conduit over that general direction, and we'll see how far I get tonight, and then we'll pick it back up tomorrow. So I actually bought the big honking box of these guys. It was definitely the cheapest way to go considering what we're gonna do. Frankly, if you're doing projects like this, everything I don't use is gonna go in my electrical bin, and we'll have it for, you know, future ridiculous projects that I decide to do, mostly unplanned. Ironically, it's difficult to see. Anyway, I've got the ends up, and basically I measured from the inside of the set screw on one side to the inside of the set screw on the other side, and that's the measurement I'm going to use. This is my conduit cutting tool. I do have one of those things you hook on there and it goes reet, 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 and it takes forever. If I had a hand hacksaw, that's probably what I would use, but I don't. But I have this hacksaw. Yeah, perfect. Just like it was supposed to be. Shockingly, that worked incredibly well. So for today's project, we're using 12 gauge solid core wire. The solid core wire, you know, it doesn't like doing curves and stuff when you're fishing it. I got it ages ago for a project because it was less expensive than the stranded wire. Yeah, and everybody's on a budget. Use what you want to use, but make sure it's the right gauge. So 12 gauge is right for 20 amps. We may be doing this job haphazardly, but the end result, we do in fact need it to be right, because, bzzz, you know. Now this stuff does spool pretty conveniently off of 1/2 inch conduit, but I gotta find somewhere to put this so that I can, you know, make it do. It's exactly what that was designed to do. What I am lacking in planning, I am making up for in hustle. All right, can I do it one-handed? Nope. Just got home from work. I've got, well, this much hours till sunset. That is less than 2. So far, we have the overheads hung on 3 out of our 4 rafters. I gotta get this last one done, which means I've gotta get this Chevy moved. Plus, I gotta get this moved in order to get all of the wiring run from the breaker panel up and over. So now we've generally made it from the far side back to the near side, but now we gotta bust a hole through here to figure out where that's got to go. So we've gone ahead and popped the cover off of this thing, and I think these 3 holes are where it's at, because that puts us right next to this, which we can identify from the outside. Let's double check. Put us right-ish there. So let's go make a hole. We've got our conduit run from one side almost all the way to the other. We've got a hole through the wall directly into the box. I think it's gonna work out just fine. The sun is going down behind me, so I need to hustle. I've got to run one line that's a home run all the way from the box. It's gonna be an independent circuit for all these tools over here. I'm just gonna run one 20 amp with multiple outlets because I'm only gonna run one tool at a time. But then I'm gonna split these lights into 2 different circuits, but we'll explain that later because the clock is ticking / the sun is indeed setting. So let's get this done so we can turn the power on. We are running out of daylight. All right, gang, we're in the main garage area. I thought I would take you through the journey. The lights are up, but this is the old journey. If you follow this extension cord, it weaves around over there and then plugs into the outlet on this far wall. Right there, out the door, under this pile of trash, through the darkness, around, over, and then up to these lights. These are 7,500 lumen. It's not bad. They're like 80 bucks. They come pre-hooked together with an outlet. You can daisy chain them. In a pinch, they were perfect. They were great. But check this out. Before, after. So what we have here is 32,000 lumens of light kind of bouncing around the room, as opposed to 7,500 lumens. I also have power to these tools over here. Let's take a minute, talk about these lighting units, talk about what I had in here, and talk about the shed and the future of it. If you got a second, just bear with me. This ought to be good. I built this garage addition 9 months ago. It was supposed to be just storage because I got a lot of junk cars that need a home. Well, it quickly became a workshop. Step one in improving its existence as a workshop was getting light in here so we can do everything else. Coming soon, we'll be pulling all of this stuff out. We'll be laying a floor in here that is not concrete, and we will be organizing the tools so that we actually have a workspace over there for all of the saws and the bigger stuff, wood and metal stuff over there, and room for 2 cars for now. Possibly a third we may need to squeeze in here. So stay tuned for that. Consider subscribing. It's going to be good. All right, now that you can really see the mess, these are Utilitech lights. Utilitech. I bought them because they were super cheap. $19 and change per unit. 4,000 lumens, 4,000 Kelvin. The units can daisy chain. It says up to 4, but I think that's on a 15 amp circuit because they're all about 2.85 watts. Because they come pre-wired, I just added outlets on each one of these rafters, and I split it into 2 circuits. So I have 4 lights per circuit, pulling, if all 4 lights are on, roughly 12 amps. But since these lights daisy chain, that means on every rafter, I have 1 unused plug-a-ma-do. So if I needed to add like a work light to get under a car or something like that, and it was more convenient to just stick it in the ceiling, I have roughly 8 amps left to work with on that side of the garage and 8 amps left to work with on this side of the garage. In addition, while I put these lights up, I jammed a 20 amp circuit all the way over to the far side of the garage where I have all of these saws kind of roughly stacked on things so that I can kind of use them sometimes without running an extension cord, which is a really big deal because this will all be helpful to make this space better. So I turned this lighting unit off so you can see it a little better. So when I bought these, there's something I didn't realize about them, and that is that these are not replaceable LED tubes. I thought I was buying a fixture with LED lamps in it. That's not really the case. What I'm buying is sort of a disposable fixture, which I guess that's not the worst thing in the world. The cost of the entire fixture was the price of 2 replacement LED bulbs for a fluorescent fixture. I will say, relative to fluorescence, these are a few lumens dimmer than a standard fluorescent, like 600. It's not massive, but it's worth noting. However, they take less power to create the light that they create. So that's kind of a win. Plus, this is a relatively low ceiling. Those are about 9 feet up above me right now. So it's very possible by moving stuff around that I will wang one of these things with something blunt at some point. And these are plastic tubes. If you have ever accidentally hit a fluorescent tube, you know they kind of pop and send shards of glass everywhere. When you mean to do it, it's kind of fun. When you don't mean to do it, it's a huge mess and pretty dangerous. So what did it cost? 20 bucks a unit. So that's 160 bucks plus tax. So let's round up to 175. Plus, I bought a bunch of conduit stuff, outlets, junction boxes. I had the wire laying around. I think I'm all in roughly 350 bucks with parts to spare, meaning I have spare outlets, I have spare junction boxes, I have spare couplers. You know, depending on your situation, if you already had power run and you just needed a couple of jumpers or to run a little bitty thing, you're in under 200 bucks. And that's a lot of light for 200 bucks. So I thought I'd bring you in up here so you can see the hanging system. It's a lightweight chain with some little hooks that go into the top of the unit. These units are insanely lightweight. If you needed to, you could easily just drive a drywall screw straight through this into drywall, and that would be more than enough to keep these in place. I think the cardboard box weighs about as much as the lighting unit. You don't have to hardwire them because they're already wired for Edison plugs, and they do have their own independent on-off switch. So this is a big start. It is the beginning of a snowball that will become a very big snowball and run me over. We can now work way into the wee hours of the night, making this place a functioning sort of mixed-use wood and home improvement shop and, well, automotive restoration kind of place. Thanks for watching. Let's make it better. Good luck on your projects out there. We will see you next time.